The rain hadn't stopped for hours. It beat against the windows of the dimly lit apartment like a relentless drum, a storm that seemed to echo the chaos in everyone's hearts. On the television, a news anchor's voice cracked as she repeated the words no one wanted to believe. Beloved actor and singer Yu Menglong tragically passed away last night. The world seemed to collapse in that instant. Fans cried in the streets, memorials sprang up outside studios, and social media drowned in heartbreak. But behind the mourning, behind the official statements, there was a truth his closest friends had been too terrified to reveal, until now. You think it was an accident? A voice whispered, trembling. The camera of a shaky live stream flickered in a darkened room where three of Yu Menglong's closest friends sat, their faces pale, their eyes heavy with secrets they could no longer carry. No. None of this was an accident. The words sliced through the silence like glass breaking. For a moment, all that could be heard was the storm outside, as though the world itself leaned in closer to listen. The first to speak was Chen Yiming, Yu Menglong's childhood friend, who had known him long before the fame, long before the world adored him. His hand shook as he gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white. He told me he was being followed. Not by fans, not by paparazzi, but by people he couldn't identify. He laughed it off sometimes, but I saw the fear in his eyes. He said if anything ever happened to him, it wouldn't be what it looked like. The others fell silent. A glass of water tipped over, rolling across the table like time slipping away. The second voice, softer yet filled with pain, came from Mei Lin, a fellow actor who had worked with him on countless projects. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes red from crying. He confided in me weeks ago. He said he discovered something dangerous. I didn't understand it, but he mentioned contracts, money that was never accounted for, and names he wouldn't say out loud. He was scared, but he didn't want to stop acting because he felt like his fans gave him strength. He promised me we'd talk more when things settled down. And now... She broke down, unable to finish, her sobs raw and unrestrained. Then came the third friend, Zhou Fang, his manager and closest confidant. His face was stone, but his voice betrayed the tremor of guilt. You all think you knew him, but you didn't see what I saw. He was under pressure from people at the top, people who didn't want him to speak. They threatened him and I told him to stay quiet. I told him to let it go because I thought it would keep him safe. And now he's gone. The storm outside cracked with thunder, as if the skies themselves were furious at the confessions spilling out. But what shocked the viewers most was what Zhou Fang revealed next. He leaned forward, his voice dropping lower, shaking. The night he died, he called me. He said, if anything happens to me, don't believe the headlines. They'll say it was an accident, maybe even that I was careless. But you know me better than anyone. You know I'd never just fall. And then the line went dead. Hours later, he was gone. The camera feed froze for a second, static blurring the screen, before returning to Zhou Fang's haunted eyes. Do you understand? He knew. He knew it was coming. The chat exploded with disbelief, anger, heartbreak. Thousands of viewers typed at once, desperate to process what they were hearing. Some cried foul play, others begged for proof. But then Mei Lin pulled something from her bag, her hands trembling. It was a notebook. A small, leather-bound notebook that belonged to Yu Menglong. She flipped it open to reveal pages filled with messy handwriting, cryptic symbols, and fragments of thoughts. Words like trapped watching and truth buried jumped out in harsh strokes. And on the very last page, there was a single chilling sentence. If they silence me, don't let them bury me twice. The air in the room turned heavy, suffocating. The storm outside howled louder, as though nature itself grieved with them. Chen Yiming clutched his head, his voice breaking. I can't keep this in anymore. He was supposed to meet someone the night he died. He didn't tell me who, but he said it was the last piece of the puzzle. What if that meeting was the reason he never made it home? For the viewers watching, the story was no longer about mourning, it had become a mystery that demanded answers. Every word from his friends peeled back another layer of the bright, smiling image the world thought it knew. Behind the lights and cameras was a man carrying fears, secrets, and a burden that might have cost him his life. The live stream continued late into the night. Mei Lin shared moments of Yu Menglong's paranoia, how he once refused to take the same route home twice. Qin Yiming recalled the way you would laugh at his own fear, trying to protect those around him by pretending it didn't matter. Zhou Fang admitted the guilt that would haunt him forever, confessing he knew too much but had stayed silent. And yet, the most shocking moment came when Mei Lin whispered, almost to herself. He mentioned a name once. Only once? Song Yiren. The room went still. Even the storm seemed to pause, as though waiting. Song Yiren, an actress, a friend, someone the world never would have suspected. Why her name? Why in the middle of his fear? Was it trust, or betrayal? The chat exploded again, theories flying in every direction. Some claimed it was impossible, others dug through past interviews, photos, even red carpet glances, searching for clues in the shadows of their friendship. But the truth lay heavy in the silence of that dark room, carried in the broken voices of the people who had loved him most. Maybe the world will never believe us, Zhou Fang said at last, his voice hoarse. But you've heard it now. You've seen his words. Don't forget them. Don't let them erase him. He was more than a headline. He was more than what they'll try to make you think. The live stream ended abruptly, the screen cutting to black. But the storm outside still raged, and in the hearts of every viewer, the questions burned hotter than ever. What happened the night Yu Menglong died? Who wanted to silence him? And what truths are still buried, waiting to claw their way to the surface? The story doesn't end here. In fact, this is only the beginning. And if you think what you've just heard is shocking, wait until you discover what came next. Don't stop now. The answers you're searching for are waiting in the next story, where the shadows grow darker and the confessions cut even deeper. The city had grown quieter by morning, but the silence was not peace, it was tension, stretched thin, waiting to snap. Fans still gathered in the streets, holding candles and flowers, their voices trembling with grief as they sang his songs in unison. But somewhere in the heart of the city, behind locked doors and heavy curtains, his three friends sat again, the weight of their words from last night pressing heavily upon them. None of them had slept. The live stream had ended abruptly, but it had unleashed a storm they hadn't anticipated. Social media burned with theories, accusations, even threats. Hashtags calling for truth trended worldwide. Reporters stalked their apartments. And then, just before dawn, Mei Lin's phone rang. No caller ID. Just a single line spoken in a distorted voice before the call cut off. Stop talking or you'll join him. Her blood ran cold as she repeated the words to the others. The notebook lay between them on the table, its pages spread open like a wound. Yu Menglong's handwriting stared back at them, jagged and desperate, as if every stroke had been written in fear. Qin Yiming slammed his fist on the table. We can't stop now. He wanted us to tell the world. We can't let fear silence us. Zhou Fang, his manager, shook his head, his voice breaking. You don't understand. These people, whoever they are, they're powerful. They already silenced him. If we keep pushing, they'll come after us too. Mei Lin clutched the notebook tighter. Then let them. If we die with the truth, at least we'll die for something real. You deserves that. The room fell into a heavy silence. And then Qin Yiming whispered the name again, the name that had unsettled them the most, Song Yiren. Her face filled the room in their memories, the soft smile, the delicate laughter, the countless photos of her standing beside Yu Menglong on red carpets and in behind-the-scenes videos. The world saw them as close friends, maybe something more. But why had Yu written her name in the final days of his life, surrounded by words like trapped and betrayal? Do you really think, Mei Lin hesitated, her lips trembling, that she could have had something to do with it? Zhou Fang didn't answer. His silence spoke louder than words. That afternoon, they agreed to meet with an investigative journalist, someone trusted, someone brave enough to chase stories others wouldn't dare touch. They needed to show the notebook, to share Yu's words. But when they arrived at the small cafe tucked away in the back streets of Beijing, the journalist never showed. Instead, an envelope sat waiting for them on the table. Mei Lin opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a photograph. Yu Menglong, days before his death, standing in the shadows of a dimly lit street. And beside him, Song Yiren. Her face was pale, her eyes darting around like she knew she was being watched. And scrawled on the back of the photograph in hurried handwriting. He trusted the wrong person. Mei Lin gasped. Qin Yiming cursed under his breath. Zhou Fang's face drained of color. Someone wants us to know, Zhou Fang muttered, gripping the photo tightly. But who? And why now? The world outside the cafe continued like nothing had changed, cars passing, strangers laughing, life moving on. But inside, the air thickened with dread. The pieces of Yu Menglong's final days were coming together, and the picture they formed was darker than any of them had imagined. That night, as fans held vigils in the streets, Zhou Fang returned to his apartment. He poured himself a drink, staring at the photo over and over again, searching for answers in Song Yiren's expression. But then he noticed something strange. At the corner of the picture, nearly invisible, a reflection in a glass window behind them, another figure watching from the shadows. It wasn't clear, just a blurred outline. But it was enough to chill him to the bone. Someone else had been there that night. The phone rang again. This time, Zhou Fang answered. You're getting too close. The same distorted voice warned. Walk away, or you'll regret it. But Zhou Fang didn't walk away. He looked at Yu Menglong's notebook, at the words begging not to be buried twice, and he made a decision. The next morning, he called Qin Yiming and Mei Lin. We can't do this alone. We need to confront her. We need to hear the truth from Song Yiren herself. The decision was reckless, dangerous even, but it was the only way forward. And so, under the cover of night, the three of them went to her home, a quiet villa tucked away from the chaos of the city. The house was dark, no lights on, the silence heavy. But the door was unlocked. Inside, the air smelled faintly of perfume mixed with something metallic, like rust. The living room was neat, almost too neat, as if someone had scrubbed it clean of life. And on the table, left carelessly as if in a hurry, was a script. The title page bore Yu Menglong's name in bold letters. Mei Lin's hand shook as she flipped through it, but midway through, pages had been torn out, ripped violently from the binding. Then came the sound. A soft creak, like a floorboard shifting upstairs. The three froze. Is someone here? Qin Yiming whispered. Before they could answer, footsteps echoed down the stairs. And there she was, Song Yiren. Her eyes widened when she saw them, her face pale, her lips parting in a whisper none of them expected. You shouldn't have come here, she said, her voice low, trembling. Zhou Fang stepped forward, holding out the notebook. He wrote your name. Why? Why would he do that? Her eyes flickered to the notebook, then to the torn script on the table. For a moment, it seemed she might break, that the weight of the truth would spill from her lips. But instead she shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. You don't understand, she whispered. If I tell you, you'll end up just like him. The storm outside returned, lightning flashing through the windows, illuminating her face. And in that fleeting moment they saw it, the fear. The same fear that had lived in Yu Menglong's eyes before he died. Song Yiren wasn't the betrayer. She was another piece of the puzzle. Another person trapped in the same darkness. But what was that darkness? Who was pulling the strings? And how many secrets had Yu Menglong uncovered before it was too late? The answers lay ahead, in the shadows that had claimed him. And the deeper they went, the more they realized this wasn't just about Yu's death. It was about something much bigger, something that reached far beyond one man's life. And this was only the beginning. Because the real story, the one Yu Menglong died for, was just starting to unfold. And if you thought these confessions were shocking, what comes next will leave you breathless. The truth is waiting in the next chapter, where the light finally exposes the darkest corners. Don't stop now. The answers are waiting in the next story.